Hey guys, my name's Kara Landells from West Coast Fitness. I'm here with Sarah from Health Focus Nutrition.
Oh, how you going?
Good. Sarah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually a nutritionist. So I've got a keen interest in eating for performance, as well as sort of gut health and body composition, and then just general health overall.
Yeah, awesome, cool. Today, guys, we're going to talk a lot about the nutritional requirements of both athletes and non-athletes, and an athlete can be anyone, right, Sarah?
Yeah,
so
100%.
beginner sporting athletes, from netballers to footballers, right up through to long distance triathletes.
Yeah.
Even if you're just starting out in the sport.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, they have some understanding, especially in terms of performance sports, of what they need to eat in terms of to fuel them, but it's not as simple as that. We're trying to get down to eating not only for performance but for long-term health as well. So it's
sustainability.
And to be able to sustain that.
The nutritional needs of athletes versus the general everyday person who just wants to lose a bit of weight and tone up, or say they go to the gym twice a week, is going to be very different. And people need to know that things are going to be different as far as the amount.
Yeah,
and the types, the base foods are going to be very similar, but the amounts and the proportions of your carbs, fats and proteins are going to
totally differ. Yeah.
And it really depends on whether you're doing long distance endurance training or whether you're going short and sharp.
Or whether you're just going to netball training as opposed to endurance training for something really big like a marathon or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So dietary guidelines. Let's as a quick intro for athletes.
Yeah. So I'm not really one for the pyramid. I think I feel like it needs to be reevaluated. So the ways of eating for those in a performance aspect and your everyday performance sports is more about eating whole foods. So making sure that you're back to basics of eating what nature has provided for us and avoiding the the processed foods with all the additives and the colours and artificial sweeteners. I think
so packaged foods.
All the packaged foods, just getting back to what nature has provided for us with eating whole foods and
reducing plastics and
100%.
Single-use plastics, things like wrappers, packaged things
definitely.
That we can sort of do a lot better for the environment.
Yeah, 100%. So
become a bit more eco-friendly and a bit more sustainable.
I mean, we've got to look after our
That relates directly back to gut health too. So we're eating a majority of whole food diet, less processed foods, more an apple compared to an apple juice.
Definitely. Because the fibre is what ultimately is good for your gut health. So a lot of the fibres that you're consuming are what your gut bacteria get the most energy out and they feed from. So if you're not having enough of those particular foods and foods low in fibre, then you're going to destroy a lot of your gut bacteria numbers.
So how important is it to eat locally? So I know we were talking a bit before about gut health. So what's the most important aspect of eating locally versus from overseas, and the effects of both?
Not only if we're eating food from overseas, it's not in season here, and so our gut bacteria is not. You've got to eat within our means. So if we've got foods that are overseas, we don't even really know where it's come from, and the pesticides or say the glyphosates and the Roundups and things that they've used, that not only diminish the nutrients, but also the travelling of the fruit and vegetables from that different country to here. What happens to that food in that meantime? How is it stored? A lot of the nutrients lose a lot of their nutrients in that transfer, and what are they putting on them to make them last? All those sorts of things, as opposed to not only supporting local, but the nutritional value of a local food and stuff that's in season is ideal for our gut health and our overall health.
Amount of nutrients is
a lot higher
in the local
much higher.
foods.
Oh, 100%.
And what about for a performance level? So you've got a triathlete that's prepping for their race in 4 to 6 weeks' time. Is it going to increase performance as well?
I would honestly think that it would, because you've got to imagine what happens to that food in that that how many weeks it takes to get from some country overseas to getting here in Australia. I would definitely say that it's going to affect the nutrient profile of that food.
So would you recommend for athletes, of whether they're sporting athletes or triathletes, endurance athletes, would you recommend them to eat a majority whole food diet? Like at least 80-20? So 80% whole food. And even more so, as you said, coming up to race day, they've got to be
I think they've
higher,
95% they need to be whole food diet, because it's ultimately going to affect their performance, whether they feel it or not. I do 100% think that it would be beneficial for them to eat whole food diet right up to their race day, 95%. But then obviously in their off season, you've got to have that balance there. So to keep them sane, but I think in the long-term goal, if your goal is to perform at 100%, then you need to look after yourself.
What about we'll cover calories
for sure.
as well for sort of the endurance athlete versus the short distance sort of say AFL player or netballer, and how it might differ. Let's go. How many calories roughly does someone sort of need each day if they're doing a long distance event? So if they're training over 1 hour every morning.
If they're doing things like that, obviously you're going to need quite a high energy yield. So you're going to need to be eating a lot more than, say, what your everyday person would be that's just going to work every day or just going for a little walk. So obviously men and women are obviously very different. And it's not as straightforward as saying you need to have this many calories. It's very much a trial and error. A lot of the times it needs to be calculated and then based on each individual. Also depends not only on their metabolism but also how well they're metabolizing their nutrients. So if they've got any chronic illnesses or conditions, we need to factor that in as well. But generally males and females are quite different, and it would be a trial and error approach. But I would say anywhere between sort of, for a man, it can be anywhere up to like 3,500 calories a day, depending on what they're actually doing.
So if they've got a 2 hour long bike ride that burns, say, 2,500 calories.
Like a mammoth amount of calories. They need to replenish that, plus more.
And if your basal metabolic rate, say, you're in bed, you're not doing anything at all, and you're burning, say, a minimum of 1,700 calories a day, that's not exercising, then you factor in that 2,500 calories burned, you got to at least account for that just to maintain your weight, not to lose weight. So what's that, 1,700 plus 2.5?
Yeah, you'd be up to most 5,000.
3,700, just for maintenance. And then if you really want to improve performance, you've got to look at increasing those calories a little bit more. Making sure that obviously they're quality calories and they're going to help you.
So they're going to get the most out of it. So you don't want to be going and eating, very nutrient crappy foods like McDonald's and KFC. I know we all know that those foods aren't good for us, but again, going back to eating real quality foods, you'd rather eat something that's really nutrient dense, something that's quite relatively high in fibre, that's obviously not going to affect our running. So we wouldn't want to be eating too many fibres and things before we're going on a massive run, or anything that's going to take forever to digest. But you understand that trying to get something very nutritionally dense, as opposed to eating, say, a McDonald's burger or chocolate or something like that. It's really important.
Okay, so what's sort of like a rough ideal meal, pre-training or pre-race meal look like in terms of amounts and types of proteins, amounts and types of carbohydrates, and amounts and types of
for
fats,
the
fats.
endurance?
For the endurance athlete, say 2 hours before a long distance event, you're doing at least, say, 4 hours this event's going to take you.
So it's a long time.
And obviously in the week leading up, we want to be not carb loading, but making sure that
maybe
we get an adequate amount of increase slightly the carbs. So maybe.
Well, it goes it's weight dependent. So it's about 25 grams of protein would probably be about maybe 100 grams of a steak or chicken or something like that. Could be maybe a bit more than that. Could be anywhere between 25 and 30 grams. So you could have something like that. But 2 to 4 hours before you're doing this run, you obviously don't want to be having anything that's really high in fibre. And you wouldn't want to be having anything that's really high in fat. So what I would probably be recommending would be something not really high glycemic index, in terms of something processed. I wouldn't want to be
low GI carbohydrate, brown rice or
brown rice or
porridge.
oats, something like that would be fine. But the moment you add, say, a fat or anything high in fibre, you will slow that glycemic index down even further, and it will take a lot longer to digest. So it's something that I would recommend if you're not doing 2 hours before a race, having something that's really slowly digested. You want something reasonably fast, a bit faster. Brown rice is absolutely fine, but I wouldn't be loading up with, a ton of veggies or a ton of dried fruit or anything that's really high in fibre as well, because it's heavy, it takes ages to digest. I wouldn't be recommending for you to be having like a lot, especially fats, like loaded with fats, like heaps of peanut butter or avocado or nuts or anything. You want to be keeping it simple.
That's something that I do. I'll do a smoothie bowl, but maybe if I have a few too many nuts and yogurt and Greek yogurt on that,
feel
smoothie
quite
bowl,
heavier, and it's quite difficult. And it's a good thing in the general public for it to slow down your glycemic load, because that way you're slowing down, so you're not getting that peak of insulin, and that you're getting like a steady release of insulin over the day. But when you're performing, you actually 100% need it to be quite quick.
Yeah.
So not only are you going to get that energy fast, but you're so that you're not able to, so you can digest that food relatively fast. It's not sitting in your gut and being really heavy, so then you're able to perform properly. And then
oats are a good one.
So oats, rice cakes, but no, I just
sources of protein with that as well.
Yeah, so you could have I know it doesn't really go well, but you could have like some rice cakes with like some jam or honey or something like that. Or a bowl of oats with like some protein powder, something mixed through, banana, mixed fruit, but I just wouldn't be having anything that's really high in fibre, like say dried apricots or sultanas.
So less dried and more like
real food.
The whole foods.
Yeah,
because they're much higher in.
So I'll just say keep your fats a little lower, like try and keep your fats a little bit on the lower side, so that you're able to eat it and digest it relatively fast. So you say brown rice, say some sort of lean protein, whether it's like a lean like chicken or beef mince or something like that. With some vegetables, you could have some broccoli or cauliflower or something, but I'd limit it, because some people can have gastrointestinal distress.
Sweet potato?
Sweet potato is a good one, but again, it's a bit of a lower glycemic index food.
Yeah.
But 2 to 4 hours, it's quite an ample amount of time. I'm saying to digest, but if you're doing like eating 60 minutes before, I would not be having any of those things.
Yeah, because I know that you've got that pre-race meal 3 hours beforehand, ideally, where you probably have the low, slow releasing, low GI carbohydrates, but then within 60 minutes, if you're going to eat anything, maybe just half a banana.
Something quite small. Because really, all of your carb loading should have already pretty much been not so much full carb loading, depending on what you're doing, should already be predominantly done. Your glycogen stores should be relatively full. Yeah. So what you're eating 60 minutes before, it's important, but it's not as important what you've done prior to. So I would say that the 60 minutes is just that little extra push, half a banana. Something like that would be ample. It's what you do the 2 to 4 hours beforehand that seems really important.
I think that a lot of athletes get confused about the portions of these protein, fats and carbs. So like, what does minimal fats mean, and what does 60 to 100 grams of carbohydrate mean? So I think it is important to have an idea of what 100 grams of oats give you, for instance, or 70 grams of oats. So sometimes I think just initially, like tracking your macronutrients and like
actually getting some scales and knowing what it looks like. So I would say get some scales and actually
for a week maybe.
Not relying too much on it.
It's only for a week, just to know. And then that way you kind of have an idea of, hey, I'm getting, this is what 60 grams of oats gives me, roughly it's a cup. Now I know that, and you don't have to
always use the scales.
You don't have to ever track again.
Yeah, you could take the scales everywhere you go, but I mean, it's about, as I said last week, about knowledge is power. So having that rough idea of what I should be having. Yeah, exactly. So getting a set of scales and just roughly weighing it out. And that way, and even getting yourself the MyFitnessPal or some sort of app so that you can get an idea of how many carbohydrates or how many protein, how much fat is in that particular food is quite a good idea, because over time you will learn all of this and you'll take it on board and it'll become second nature. Yeah. So
that's definitely a big tip that I'd give anyone out there, whether you're an athlete or someone that's just going to the gym and they just want to improve lean muscle or a bit of fat loss is to definitely have an idea, and the best way to do that is just for 1 week, I think just do some tracking in MyFitnessPal. Track in all your snacks, everything that you eat. Yes, it's tedious for the week, but at least after that week you have a much better idea of where maybe you're falling short. I know when I tracked, I got I registered, I think it was like 60% of my total calorie intake was fat. So and I think that, a bit high, and I was wondering why. I was in my off season, I was doing a lot of volume training, but I was wondering why I wasn't able to drop a little bit of body fat just to get me to prep me for race season. Because if I wasn't, you've got to have if you have a bit lower body fat percentage when you are in race season, it's going to be easier to stay injury free as long as you're not too low. You've got that perfect optimal amount of lean muscle development, and you're not carrying that extra bit of weight where you're gonna be a lot faster running if you're able to, in the off season, drop that body fat just by a little bit, increase your lean muscle. So it's really important that you do know how much food you need to be getting, and from what
and
comes
having
from
that macro ratio down pat. So knowing that, I think in your off season, if your fats are a bit higher, it's probably okay because it's your off season, so you're eating a lot of energy dense foods. But when you're getting into your peak performance, as I said earlier, when your energy output is so high, you're doing so much endurance training, that primarily your main macronutrients should be coming from carbohydrates. So if you're eating quite a high yield of fat, it's going to impact your performance overall, because you generally need glucose as your main source of fuel. So, and not only will your calories be a lot higher, because fats actually are about 9 calories per gram, as opposed to carbs and protein, which is only 4. So you will go over your calories, which you'll be in a calorie surplus, which is great, but you'll also not perform adequately because you are a bit sluggish. And
I know a lot of it's a trend these days to go more paleo and a lot more
ketogenic, perhaps.
Even to the extreme of keto, where we see such a high proportion of fat and like just about no carb, either very low carb or no
like
carb.
5 or 10%.
And long term, I just don't think it's sustainable, and it's
not for everyone too,
in terms of digestion. And it is trial and error. Maybe some people will do well on it for maybe what were you saying before, like for 4 weeks or something, or 8 weeks.
Some people can do a bit of a
sort of program.
Yeah, they can do a bit of a stint where they do like a 10, 12 week ketogenic kind of schedule, where they might do it for a 12-week period. And some people just think, wow, I get the best response from this. I feel energetic, like so much clarity. But then you get the other side where they think, no, I can't handle it. I felt yuck. I didn't really perform. Lacking energy. So it really depends on the person and the phase of training that you're in.
So if you're in race season and you're trying to race every weekend or even every 3 or 4 weeks, I wouldn't be recommending trialing a ketogenic diet.
I would say that if you're going to try it, do it in your off season. And it could work really well for you, but I just, all the studies that I have read, they have definitely got some benefits in terms of the ketogenic diet, but it seems to be not so much for performance. It's more for, say, chronic disease and other health issues like Alzheimer's and all sorts of things like that. But in terms of performance, as I've said before, carbohydrates is your main source of fuel. You can become a bit more fat adapted.
That's the trend. Like, what do we know? What does the literature actually say about this? Because I know that a lot of the trending information is saying that having a high fat diet can help with burning fat and being able to go, for those longer Ironman events.
You switch your energy systems over from burning glucose as fuel to then burning fat for fuel, which is
takes a while to do again.
You might not, and it doesn't always work for everybody. So, and then you have to stick to it 100%. Like you have to be you have to be ketogenic,
which is actually quite restrictive, and you have to hold back. You might.
And then you've got to think of the long-term effects that a low carbohydrate diet, how important are carbohydrates for our body. And as I said before about our gut bacteria, it's really important because a lot of our beneficial bacteria, we have millions and millions of gut bacteria and bacteria all over our body, that especially the ones in the gastrointestinal system that feed off these particular carbohydrates. So if we're taking those out, for a short term, our bodies are great. Our bodies can handle a short term of anything.
Yeah.
But a long term, you've got to try and think of what effect is that going to have on destroying a lot of our bacteria strains, and that all has consequences. So
absolutely,
I think you've got to think of, as I said before, the long term effect and what's actually sustainable
and what's good for the gut long term.
Because you can't just think of now; you've got to think of later.
Coming back to that whole food diet and being able to, I guess, really embrace that and not eat, because I know that a lot of us endurance athletes are still eating and having gels because that's what we've always known, and that's what the research has shown.
It's easy.
So what about potentially making your own natural form of gel? What do you think about that? So rather than having all the additives in the gels that
I think it can be done. As you said, you've attempted it yourself. It's just more about trying to come up with the perfect ratio. And I wouldn't worry too much about the taste, because really at the end of the day you're just going to chug it down. It's very quick, but we want to be able to make sure that we can put it in a reusable sachet or something that we don't have to
throw away,
contributing to waste.
So you can reuse it.
That is a definite something positive that we're trying to look into. But I do think that you could definitely make your own, and it's trying to have that good mixture of electrolytes as well as your, say, glucose or dextrose or some sort of high glycemic, quickly absorbed sugar.
Something as simple as like raspberries. Lemon juice.
You could use like glucose syrup, but most of the time it's like a high fructose corn syrup, so I wouldn't recommend that. But you could get dextrose powders. You can get honey. You can use jam. Anything like that that's quickly, readily absorbed in the body that can give you energy and refuel those glycogen stores quickly.
I think it's probably the most natural form of those sugars would either come from the fructose side of things, so honey or
honey, maple
rice
syrup,
maple syrup.
Although something natural, because the bees have provided us with these beautiful foods. We should be able to eat the honey.
Absolutely.
But then you've got people that can't have it, so we can then provide something for each person and say they can't have honey because they're fructose intolerant or something like that would make it really difficult.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure we could come up with something.
and speaking of coming up with something, Sarah and I are going to work on something really cool for you guys in the future. We're going to run out a nutrition program for those of you who need help with this sort of stuff in terms of fueling pre and post race, whether that be in a base phase of training, say for example when you're in no race phase and you're prepping for all of your volume training, you're getting that long slow distance aerobic work and you might want to lose a bit of body fat, so running out the types of meals and foods and quantities that you need for a 4-week cycle or 28 days or whatever we want to do, versus having a program for people in race season like myself now, where they need more higher energy carbs straight away.
What
it's
to
short
eat,
and
how
sharp.
much to eat.
It's much higher intensity training. You're racing every weekend, so it's completely different for those people who are racing versus not racing and doing
totally
long distance training. And then that way you guys will have more of an idea.
I think you can get away with a lot more in your off season than when you're in your peak season. So I think trial and error in terms of when you're in your off season would be somewhere to start, so that you can get away with a lot more. You've got a bit more wiggle room, whereas if you were to opt for something new leading right into your peak race, I probably wouldn't recommend it, just because it's got, you want to know what's going to affect on your gastrointestinal system, as well as your energy requirements, and things take time. So it's we slowly will build up calories, we'll slowly increase certain foods, try and getting more variety and colours and things into your diet. We wouldn't just go and put somebody on a 3,500 calorie diet when they've only been eating 2,000.
Little steps at a time.
And sort of just individualising it, making it more tailored to you. But just trying to come up with some sort of handout, a bit of a guide for.
Because I think there's no one size fits all approach. So you've really got to tailor a nutrition program to the individual. That's why I think it's so important that we have these programs, but we've really got to speak with you individually.
It doesn't always work for everybody.
What are your goals? Are you going long or short? Again, specific dietary needs, low fructose.
Do you have any dietary issues? Like, are you a celiac? Do you have some
you might not
chronic
even know
disease
this.
or illness? That's it. So it's trying to work together to find out, okay, well, am I actually absorbing my nutrients properly? Why aren't I? What's going on? All those sorts of things.
And what can we do to improve or reach your peak performance through nutrition. I think that's really important, is learning what works best for you and what you get the most out of, aka I perform best on this type of food, I recover better, and I can perform better the next day if I have this type of food post-race.
And I think it's about also tracking everything, so writing a little bit of a diary and saying, look, you know, this I ate this today, I felt like this, I didn't have a lot of energy. Okay, well, give it a little bit longer to see whether you've adapted to that, because things take time. You might eat something one day and then go and train, I don't really feel that good, but you give it a few days, you might adapt to those things, and if you changed your diet quite quickly, you're going to expect that the change that you feel isn't going to happen overnight. So it's all those sorts of things as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for talking to me today, Sarah. I really appreciate the time. And where can people find you if they want to know some more information about anything that we've covered? What's your best contact? Or
Sure. So I've got my Facebook is at Health Focus Nutrition, so you can just search me on Facebook, and also just started my Instagram as well, which is also Health Focus Nutrition. My email is healthfocusnutrition@gmail.com, so you can hit me and message or email anytime.
And we'll pop all of those links in the bottom so that you can contact Sarah whenever you need, or myself, and let us know what you want to hear about in the future.
If you've got anything that you want to talk about, or any questions, something that you're a bit unsure of,
we'll cover it off.
Just make a suggestion and we can add it in, and so there's always stuff to research, always stuff that we can touch base on, so it sounds good.
Got a cheat sheet for you as well, so all the stuff that we covered today about nutritional needs for athletes versus non-athletes, it's going to be on that, so feel free to snap that up. All you got to do is just hit the link at the bottom, and you put your email and we'll send you a copy. All right,
thanks guys.
Thanks for listening.